Hello, thanks for tuning in today. I'm your host, Cedric Credit Champion, and I just want to make a quick video explaining why it's dangerous to buy a house right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video with a friend. If you like this video, it'll help it circulate around YouTube. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the reason why it's dangerous to buy a house right now in 2022 or in any season or condition where the prices are too high, like they are now, home prices are overpriced. The danger in buying a house that's overpriced is that, first of all, you're trying to get the house you really like, and the house you really like is overpriced. So you're having to pay more than you usually would have to pay. For example, just say a house that cost $185,000 before the pandemic, now it costs $250,000. Same house. I can go on Zillow and see houses that have gone up $70,000. Now that's crazy. In 2 years, that's crazy. But that's the reality of what happened during this in the housing market. And so now, on top of prices, now prices are going down, but they haven't gone down to where they were before COVID. So now you still have house prices that are overpriced, and you have high interest rates now, and you have inflation now. There's just too much going on for the average person to get a house and afford it. Now, you can get a house, and mortgage companies will make sure they will find creative ways for you to get in a house, but they can't find creative ways for you to keep that house once you get it. Many times people purchase houses, they can get in them, but they can't keep them. And a lot of the loans are terrible loans, terrible contracts that are being signed. Contracts where on the second mortgage, whatever your total loan amount is, it'll be the same after 15 years. And you'll just have to refinance that loan to pay it down. For example, just say you have a house, that house is $250,000. Well, what they'll do is they'll take $150,000, put it on the first mortgage, put $100,000 on the second mortgage. And after 15 years, that $100,000 mortgage, it'll still be $100,000. You'll just have to go and get it refinanced somewhere else to pay it down. In other words, that mortgage will start over again after 15 years. Those are the kind of deals that people are signing up for just to get in a house and just to say they own a house. These are bad contracts. So avoid contracts like that. Avoid adjustable rate mortgages where the interest rate goes up and you have to pay more because the interest rate goes up. You have to pay hundreds of more dollars, and people are not psychologically ready for the changes that take place in their mortgage payment. Imagine paying $1,500 on a house 1 month and then having to pay $1,700 on that same house the next year, and then having to pay $1,900 on that same house the following year. Psychologically, people are not ready to do that. They think they are, so they go ahead and sign the contract to get the house, not knowing what they've gotten into really until they actually have to make the payment. So my advice to anyone who wants to buy a house, I would get a 15-year mortgage. That's the most I would do to buy a house. And it's the best option out of all options. 30 years is a long time. Now, when I was growing up, married couples would get a 30-year mortgage, and they would stay in that house through that 30-year term, and they would pay off that house. right? I know people right now who have paid off their 30-year mortgage or who are in the process of paying off their 30-year mortgage. They're like at the end of that term. And yeah, they're going to have their house paid off free and clear. But this new generation doesn't do that. This new generation, they'll get a 30-year mortgage. They'll stay in the house 7 years and then move. They want to upgrade. So they never see the house paid off. And let me tell you something. The house that I stay in now, my wife and I, look, that house is paid off, and you're talking about a good feeling to not have a mortgage. Now, we're going to get a mortgage very soon. We're waiting for house prices to go down because, like I said, house prices are inflated right now. There's no equity in the house. Or even if there's equity now, as time goes on, that equity will be lost because house prices are going down. So yeah, we're just not willing to overpay for a house. But yeah, we plan on getting a mortgage. But we're going to get a 15-year mortgage. And we want to pay off that 15-year mortgage as soon as possible. So in order to do that, I want you to check out my next video that I'm going to make. I'm going to tell you how you can pay off a 15-year mortgage in 12 years. And so that's reasonable, you know, especially if you're around your 50s and you want to buy a new house, get a 15-year mortgage, pay it off, and then you get to live mortgage-free, God's willing. Now, you know, anything can happen in that 15 years, but 15 years is better than 30, right? And so you want to get the least long-term possible. You don't want to do the 30-year mortgage. 30 years is just too long. And so we're having to educate people through social media as to what to do. I know we grew up on a 30-year mortgage, but it's time for us to evolve. You know, a lot of things we used to do, we don't do anymore, right? I remember when there was a swimming pool in pretty much every area where I live in Georgia, where the recreation center had swimming pools and kids would just go and, you know, swim in the summer. Where we don't do it anymore. The swimming pools are closed. I remember we used to go to Blockbuster. We don't go to Blockbuster anymore. So a lot of things we used to do, we don't do anymore. We evolve. And so it's time for us to evolve to the 15-year mortgage as the mortgage of choice. 15-year fixed rate mortgage, that is. So listen, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to make another video explaining to you the pros and cons of the 15-year versus 30-year mortgage. And it's going to be very insightful. But yeah, you don't want to get into a mortgage that you cannot afford. And a lot of people, they don't, when they go into the mortgage company, they don't list on their budget or the amount of money they have going out. They don't list for Christmas. They don't list for birthdays. They don't list for if you just want to go out and have fun most of the time. And so when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you spend $1,000 that month extra, it can cause you not to have the money for your mortgage. Or what if your car breaks down and you didn't budget for having to buy or get that car, buy a new car, even get your car fixed? You didn't budget for it. You didn't put it in your list of things that you have to pay. And you're living check to check. Mishap like that can throw your whole budget out of whack. And you can find yourself not having enough money to pay your mortgage and going into foreclosure after a few months of doing that or being behind. And so that's why you got to be very careful about getting a mortgage that you have, you know, some breathing room, you know, $1,000 or so each month extra. You got to do what you got to do. If you have to work overtime, you've got to get your extra job, whatever. But you need some breathing room. You need some money in savings if you're going to make the commitment of buying a house. Listen, thanks for tuning into the channel. I'm going to share some more information with you in my next video. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend. If you think this will be helpful to someone, go ahead and share this information. Cedric, Creative Champion, out.